We truthfully feel that if you want to be an informed voter, you got to talk to the candidates. Just don't go somewhere and listen to them, then get up and walk out. So we have cards up here for you to write on. If you have questions that you'd like our moderator to ask the candidates the questions, feel free to fill them out and give them to me so I can get them up to Mark. This is Mark Kelso, will be our moderator. And we'll let him introduce everybody. But I would like, first of all, a great thanks to the Canterbury Park. My lovely friend Chris did a terrific job of setting this all up for us and letting us have the Canterbury Park to put this in tonight. We usually do it over in the
You're here, so enjoy.
And despite the last name, I never had any contact.
So,
Oh, Mark Koelsch.
I got that. Good name.
Yeah, right. Good sign. So anyhow, Mark will tell everybody how this is going to run, what's going to take place. We want to make sure that this is very, very dignified meeting. No hooting, no hollering, no booing. No labor people.
You just can't resist, can you?
With that, thank you all for coming. We're going to have the port commissioners on right after this one. We'll have a short break in between so Mark can get everybody straightened out what we're doing. With that, thank you all very much for coming. Mark.
Thank you, Ken. Just to kind of reiterate a little bit of what he said, my name is Mark Koelsch. I'll be the moderator this evening. You're very welcome to send forward questions. We have a few prepared questions to kind of get us started, but we'd like to hear questions from the audience. Now, having said that, I do not tolerate the kind of questions, have you stopped beating your wife lately? In other words, make sure it is an actual, genuine question, not a political statement. You'll have a much better chance of getting through me as the screener that way. I may take liberty if I get 3 different questions that are on the same topic to paraphrase them and reword them, so don't be offended if I don't get the exact wording of your particular question. I think we have some great questions tonight. At the beginning, we held a coin flip. Mr. Futcher won the coin flip. I realized tonight I'd been mispronouncing his name all these years, saying Futcher. He corrected me tonight. In fact, his wife has a shirt on explaining, I think, on the pronunciation. We also have Dale Barto with us. Mr. Futcher won the coin toss, so he'll be going first. Ken's trying to touch. Oh, we have time cards. Can you see those?
One.
All right. Ken is the timer tonight, and he'll give us a heads up probably at 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, and stop. I will let you finish a sentence, maybe 2, if you get to the stop point, but we need to be respectful for time, so I would appreciate it if you wrap up at the end of that. The format this evening, they will both have an opportunity for opening statements, 3 minutes apiece. After that, the questions will begin. Since he won first, he'll get first opportunity and for 3 minutes to answer the question. Then Mr. Barto will have 3 minutes to answer the question. We'll have a chance for rebuttals. It's up to 2 minutes. As I point out, it doesn't mean you have to use the full 2 minutes. Sometimes you can get through more questions that way if you can do your rebuttal in a short period of time. You have a question?
Shall we hold our applause to the end?
That would be appreciated. I don't think in all the years we've been doing this, we've had an issue with people applauding, but we do want to make this just kind of an open forum to provide information to the public, so we would appreciate that we can kind of keep on track. But good question, thank you. Any other questions before I start off?
Mark?
Yes?
Restrooms
Restrooms are right across the hall.
I just thought about that and I'll be back shortly.
If you need a break as a timer, be sure and wave me down so we can do that. As Ken indicated, we will try and have a little bit of a break between the first forum that we're holding and the second forum. So the Port Commission race, I see both candidates are already here this evening, so we're ready to go on that one. But we don't want to get as many questions in as we can. Any additional questions? Thank you. At this time, David Futcher. There
you go. Thank you.
It's going to take a long time for me to break a habit.
No, that's okay. That's what we all learning every day, right? Well, it has been my pleasure to work for the citizens of Kelso the last 11 years on the city council. My name is David Futcher, and I'd like to have a chance to do that again. Among my passions in doing this work have been trying to develop our economy around here. there's some things that are challenges in our community, and so many of them go back directly or indirectly to challenges we have making money, having money, to poverty, to just to the lack of availability we have for economic growth. So that's been my focus in the time I've been on council, and I've got a number of things I can point to that were real benefits to the community that I've helped participate in that time. And that's what I want to keep doing. I want another term to be able to finish some projects that we're working on, such as the development of the property south of the Y, the 432 interchange down there. We've got some neat prospects right now, and I think I have some good relationships that help us be able to finish those out and see them to fruition. Merely having that interchange is a huge benefit to our city, but we need to go the rest of the way and develop it there. So that's my passion, along with doing things for our youth, help develop the skate park, youth facilities at Tam O'Shanter. Those are my other things that really float my boat, as well as educating myself on how to do this job better. I've been the only council member, or the first council member anyway, who got the Certificate of Municipal Leadership, and then the Advanced Certificate of Municipal Leadership. Just means I took a lot of classes trying to do a good job for you guys. So I'd love to keep doing that. I hope to afford me that opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. Thank all of you for being here. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm glad to be here. My name's Dale Barto, and I'm running for Kelso City Council. I've been in Kelso my entire life. I truly care about the city and the citizens in the city of Kelso. Very active in the labor group. I also would like some economic change. That's what we need in Kelso. We need jobs, family wage jobs. The 432 project I think will help, but that land that's out there on the Tenant Way, it's been out there for a long time. Nobody's coming. All right, it's been there a while. I think it's time for a new voice at the City Council, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. First question to Mr. Futcher, and I'll try and get that right. Describe the infrastructure needs of the city of Kelso, particularly roads, bridges, and utilities, and how should these needs be met?
We're in pretty good shape with respect to most of the utilities. We have a need for a replacement of the reservoir on Minor Road. You may have heard if we had even a 6.0 earthquake, which isn't tremendously huge in the scheme of things, it's projected to fail completely and dump 2 million gallons of water out on the interstate. So I was able to work with our staff at the city and with our legislative, what's the polite word for lobbyists? Anyway, those guys. And we were able to find $1.5 million of funding to help us get that replaced. And we're going to get going on that here, hopefully this year. So water is pretty good outside of that. Sewer is started real old, but we've got plans that we're replacing parts of that as we can. From the streets is the part that everybody wants to talk about, though. And it's a challenge because we are told that we need to be spending $1 million to $1.2 million a year on streets just to kind of keep them where they need to be. And I don't know if, well, probably most of you haven't spent a whole lot of time with our budget, but it's not there. There's not that much kind of money there. We were spending about $400,000 on roads when we were hearing this. And that made me feel like there was no question that we had to do something to buttress that funding. And the council put in a $20 car tab a few years ago. And that's not popular. It's not easy to do, but when somebody's sitting there telling me, you're spending about a third of what you need to be spending on roads, I've got to find another way to get the rest of that money. It's not reasonable for me to think that a problem is just going to go away because I want it to. We've got to find some funding, and the only ones that are available to us are things like the Transportation Benefit District, that $20 car tab. So we did that. We've only been collecting it for a little over a year. We're letting it pile up. We've done a couple projects this year that will start taking advantage of that funding. Look forward to that helping on our streets in the future. So not always a popular thing, but I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Barto, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Describe the infrastructure needs of the city of Kelso, particularly roads, bridges, and utilities, and how would you meet those needs?
Well, first of all, this that I think our biggest challenge right now is our sewer system, because it is the oldest. We run around and if somebody has a collapse, and then that's how we're fixing it. We're not being proactive in fixing our old aging water system or sewer system. And as far as our roads, $20 tax on every vehicle that's in the city, right? And we've been collecting that for a while, and it's not being spent. You can go down your road, any road you want, there's lots of potholes there. So, I mean, we need funding, of course, but I think that some of this funding should be from regular revenue, right? So we got problems with old houses, people moving out. I don't know. I would start with our aging water system, sewer system.
Okay. Mr. Futcher?
One comment on the sewer system. We actually do have plans in place that are saying, here's the problems, the biggest areas we see. We have a regular replacement schedule. It's not, we do fix the things that back up, obviously, because they need fixed. But we do have a plan to replace things before they get to that point. As we know, pieces have been in there for a long time and may need some repair. For instance, Northwest 2nd and 3rd, they're just under the Callaway Bridge. We replaced both the water and the sewer lines through that neighborhood, not because they were failing, but because it was a regularly scheduled thing. And at the same time, we get to repave that road. So they've got a better road, they got better sewer, they got better water delivery system, and that water also interties with Longview. So if there's ever a problem, we can send water or receive water with Longview.
Thank you. Mr. Barto, any rebuttal? All right. Move on to the next question. This topic seemed to be popular, so we'll get to it. And I'm going to combine a couple here, but they're the same topic. In light of the AWPPW and teacher strikes, would you be willing to cross the picket line? And this goes first to Mr. Barto.
That would be a big absolutely no. Never cross the picket line. I've been a labor person involved with the Koelsch Labor Council. I've been active in my own local. Would never cross the picket line.
Okay.
I don't see any reason to. To me, you know, I may not be the one who needs to be negotiating those two deals, but I support the folks who feel like that's what they need to do is picket, and I've never had a need to cross the line, and I don't intend to try.
All right. I don't know if either of you want to reply, since it's kind of an agreement on that one. That was quick. Question number 3, this will go to Mr. Futcher first. The City of Kelso is currently working with the Council of Governments on the Smart Growth Program, which is targeted toward the downtown area of Kelso, and the West Kelso Sub-Area Plan. Both of these programs focus on the future and the economy. Do you consider these programs to be of importance to the City of Kelso? Why or why not?
You know, anything that you do to be thinking about the future, I think, is a benefit. The challenge I had when I first came into council is things seem to move so stinking slow. I'm used to being in business for myself, and if I want to do something, I just do it. And here it feels like we got to have a plan and we got to do all this, and that is kind of frustrating. But then you realize after you do it for a while that there's a reason for that. It's because we're spending your money, and before I spend your money, I better make sure that I've thought about, well, what about this? What about this other option? You know, that's the kind of questions you ask me when I come out and say, here's what we're doing. What did you think about doing this or that? I need to be responsible with it. So this planning stuff seems like it slows things down, but in reality, it makes sure that you spend the money right in the first place. So I am excited about the plan, especially the West Kelso sub-area plan, because we've got a new area over there created by this West Main realignment that, you know, you got people coming up already wanting to, hey, can I put there's some guys want to put a McDonald's in on that new spot you got there. And, you know, my tendency is, hey, you want to build something, welcome to Kelso. But I've been pulled back by people who say, you know, you need to make sure it fits with your plan. You need to make sure you know what you're trying to accomplish out there, and that putting something on that spot makes sense in the bigger scheme of things. So I am excited about what West Kelso can be as we invest more in the streetscape and the second phase of the West Main realignment. The part with smart growth, there was a grant available to help us do that, and anytime you can get somebody else to pay for you to think about what should be going on in your town, I'm excited for that. You know, they brought a lot of resources to the table to help us with that smart growth implementation, thinking about what should we be trying to go for, and how do we do it, what resources are available for us. So I think they're valuable pieces in helping us grow and become what we need to be.
Thank you. Mr. Barto, same question. Would you like me to reread it?
No. I happen to agree with Dave. It's a good idea to have a plan put together to spend the Kelso's money and work with the county and city governments and get some funding. So I agree with Dave on that one. It's important.
I don't care to redirect that question.
Okay. Would you like to rebut? Okay. We're moving through questions pretty quickly. Another one from the audience. There have been many paid consultants, and I guess this will go to Mr. Barto first. There have been many paid consultants who have provided advice and suggestions to develop develop Kelso. Why haven't these been implemented? How do you propose to implement them in the future?
Well, I really don't know what the consultants, what are they looking at? I don't know.
That I don't know. It's just a question I've come up
From the consultants? Well, I think that we as a council should be able to come up with great ideas for the city. And why are we paying a consultant to come in here and it's our town? Why are we? I mean, this is our town. We have a city council. Why can't they come up with ideas? That's what I would say.
Mr. Futcher?
Yeah, when we do have folks come in and help us, as I mentioned, in these planning efforts we're working on right now, I absolutely want to try and follow what they're doing. Now, I can't speak for everyone that's happened in the past and why that hasn't been followed. Maybe there were some, generally it's budgetary constraints, that there's some great ideas, but they don't always come with a funding source. A lot of times folks are up in front of us telling us what they think we should go, and here's some possible places you could go find the money. That's great, but sometimes the thought of where we could go find the money really doesn't pan out. And the grants that might have been available through the state in prior years aren't anymore because the state doesn't have the money. So I would guess that, very rarely do we pay for somebody to come in and advise us on where to go and just say, screw it, we don't want to do it. If we're not following their guidance, there's a reason somewhere. And without knowing the specific example, I couldn't tell you what that is.
It's pretty difficult.
Well, couldn't that money be better spent without paying a consultant? Where does that money come from? Right out of the general budget? I don't know.
Okay. Any additional comment?
Nope.
All right. Fifth question. This one will be directed to Mr. Futcher first. Do you believe that there is a present problem with affordable housing in Kelso? In your opinion, what is the role of the City Council in dealing with both present and future housing issues in Kelso?
Yeah, I think the studies we look at show there's an absolute lack of affordable housing in Kelso. The challenge we've got is, what do you do? We don't own the parcels. We could theoretically go and condemn them and get involved in all that, and that's really not the way I think you want to run things. So what we try and do is we try and zone things appropriately. We try and encourage development. The Northwest 2nd and 3rd that I just mentioned about the sewer and water line getting replaced, that's a spot where we've actually sat down with private investors who might be interested in building some kind of affordable housing complex or something like that in that area. It's an area that needs some renewal, and it's been targeted by the council as a spot that we'd like to invest a small amount of housing money that we're provided each year. It's somewhere that we want to focus that investment. So many people, that's almost all the council can do. People think we can just make stuff appear, and my kids are like, well, how come you haven't put in a Olive Garden or a Carl's Jr.? And I'm like, well, I just can't tell people to go build stuff, and the city's certainly not in the development business either. But we can foster that. We can zone it appropriately. We can try and help people obtain the funding and work with them to let them, first of all, just let them know what we'd like to see happening out there. But absolutely, we have an affordable housing problem.
Thank you. Mr. Barto, same question. Would you like
Well,
me to
Grant,
read?
I do agree with Dave. We do have affordable housing issues in Kelso, right? We do. So we could work with other people, and I don't know what you can do you can't force somebody to lower their rent or build cheaper houses, right? So there's plenty of issues with housing in Kelso, so I don't have the answer right now.
Okay.
Well, the only other way to go on that is to increase everybody's income so that more housing is affordable. So that goes back to the economic development that I'm really trying to push. I think that's an impossible answer.
All right. Any agree? Question number 6 will be directed to Mr. Barto first, somewhat related to the previous question. In your opinion, what is the best way to address the homeless problem in the local area?
Well, everybody knows that we have love overwhelming, and that addresses the homeless, but it is not, in my opinion, it's not in the right location. It's not servicing the people that it needs to. And with that, it's funded by the county, love overwhelming, right? But it's the citizens of Kelso that are paying the price for it. We're paying more for police officers, the crime. I've had people talking to me about, they found somebody sleeping on their patio, right? I mean, it is not, love overwhelming is not addressing the issues of all the stuff in Kelso. So I think we need to find a better place to have this homeless shelter and try to work with the money they have to help more of the homeless.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Futcher?
Yeah, it's tough because love overwhelming dominates the discussion when you get to the homeless stuff in our town, the homeless problem. I think that Community House has actually done a pretty good job over the years of making a dent in the local homeless problem. It obviously wasn't answering all the questions though, and that's what got people looking for the housing first model and coming up with a facility like Love Overwhelming. Love Overwhelming's been doing better in the last month or so since we took them to court to try and say you're not doing things the way you're supposed to. We wanted to point out that the way things were happening there was not acceptable for our citizens. That they were putting too much of a tax on our police and fire personnel and making it harder for them to be able to respond to everybody else. Since that time, they cleaned up their act a lot. It's really made a dent in the calls for service. So is that the answer? It's been going for what, a year, not even a year. So I don't know that that's the answer either, but all we can do is try and learn from other communities, try things that have worked in other communities. And this model, at some level, the housing first model, has been beneficial to other places. So, I don't know. It seems like it's cleaned up its act enough that maybe we can give it a little more time now. It certainly was not deserving of such the way they were handling things earlier, to me. But, I don't want to forget about Community House and the work that it does.
All right, thank you. Mr. Barto, any response?
Well, I think that we still need to maybe look at a different area, because we come back to economic impact and jobs and higher wages, family wage jobs, and you're trying to attract businesses into your city, and yet you have this homeless shelter right in the middle. I mean, people come through the city, they see it whichever way they go. So I think that we need to look at where it's placed.
Thank you. Mr. Futcher?
Economic development will fix a lot of problems, like I mentioned, and that, again, throwing more money in the community is going to help with the homeless problem, too.
Okay. Question 7 will be directed first at Mr. Futcher. Given budget constraints and the difficulty of continuing to provide the services that citizens desire, would you be in favor of pursuing a major partnership or combination of services with the City of Longview or Cowlitz County? Please describe your vision of future government services in the local area.
I think people would be surprised to know how many we actually already do that with, how many things we do with Longview right now. For instance, they've been our building inspectors and done a lot of the planning for us for a couple of years now. What that's done is let us use their excess capacity. They have maybe guys they didn't need quite as much, and it worked real well for both cities. It let them use their people, and we didn't have to try and find people. It also gave the contractors out there working a consistent approach to the rules that were in there for how they build things. So when they get inspected by Kelso, it's not any different than when they get inspected by Longview. And that hasn't always been the case. And that makes it hard to develop things if you're not sure which field you're playing on. So we've done some of that in the past. I think everybody knows we've tried parks, and then the city of Kelso pulled out of that. But there are a number of things that we share already with Longview. I'm always open to looking at more. We even floated the idea several years back of looking at more at a municipal merger, and it was very clear that that's not where people on either side of the river were interested in going. So there's some efficiency that's provided there, and what I got out of that advisory vote was that efficiency isn't everything. That our character as a city, are identifying, we identify as Kelso. We don't want to get sucked into anything bigger. We are Kelso, and Longview the same thing. So while I want to try and take advantage of economies of scale maybe sometimes with Longview and efficiency, I don't ever want to lose sight of the fact that Kelso needs to be Kelso.
Thank you. Mr. Barto?
Well, working with Longview, I like that idea, but what I heard Mr. Futcher say was, maybe the building inspector, right? So now Kelso doesn't have a building inspector. Is that another family wage job that we don't have anymore? Now it's over from Longview. I mean, we need jobs and we need these things. So we don't have a building inspector right now, right? We're using Longview. I don't like that idea. I think we should have our own.
Mr. Futcher?
I'm plenty happy with people in Longview making money. A rising tide lifts all ships, and to believe that money made in Longview is not going to ever benefit Kelso, I think is probably inaccurate.
Mr. Barto, any response?
No.
All right. Question 8. Let's see. This will be directed to Mr. Barto first. The City of Kelso is a partner agency for the Industrial Way, Oregon Way intersection project. You support this program. What is the benefit to the citizens of Kelso?
Well, I think it's transportation. You get people coming back and forth. I think a lot of people in Kelso will use these roads and better access all around the city.
Okay, thank you.
That's a major economic development project that is going to allow expansion of, port facilities past on the other side of the Oregon Way bridge there. So yeah, I'm absolutely interested in seeing that happen. Again, to me, a dollar made in the community is, I'm great with that. I mean, would I love if those things were locating in Kelso? Absolutely. Am I still excited that people want to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in the neighboring city? Yes, I am. Because we work together with Longview, I think symbiotically, we are kind of the retail. I mean, that we're located on the interstate. Kelso's future is in retail. We don't have a spot where we can put 15, manufacturing facilities in the city of Kelso. So let's accept what we are. We have, one potential industrial spot south of the Y, but we're gonna be kind of the retail thing. And the retail guys do well when the whole community has more disposable income. So I'm excited about opportunities that could be created at the port and out past the port. And I think that the expansion of the old name was 432, 433 interchange part, but now they got the Oregon Way Industrial Way.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a big project. I'd love to see it happen just so that we can attract more industry to our community, make more money, and everybody else pays less.
Thank you. Mr. Barto, any response to that?
Well, I happen to agree with Dave that is a huge deal. It's going to make a huge economic impact to everybody in the community.
Any response?
I like that he agrees with me.
Just real quickly, if anybody has questions, we have cards up there. Be sure and get them to Ken so he can get them up here. Otherwise, we're going to run out of questions here in a moment or two. So, question 9 will be directed first at Mr. Futcher. Are there any businesses coming to this community that you would say no to?
Sure. I'm honestly not a huge fan of the proliferation of marijuana processing facilities we've had in Kelso, but on the other hand, it's a free country and a free town and state anyway, and they are helping kick some money in to lower your tax burden. I don't know what specifically the person might have in mind, but certainly I'm supportive of the environmental regulations we've got that make sure that things happen responsibly around here. So yeah, I think I can easily answer that question. Yes, I'm sure there are things that I would say no to. I don't know if it would be the thing that you might want me to say no to, but overall, I'm really looking for growth, and I might have a tendency to err on the side of saying yes instead of no, but there absolutely are things I would say no to.
Thank you.
Yes,
Barto?
same question. I would have a few businesses I would have to say no to as well. So not necessarily the pot or those shops or The warehouses, those are regulated, well-regulated industry, jobs, family wage jobs, that's what we need. So, I'm not a big fan of having a big Walmart over there who don't do family wage jobs, right? They're not that good for your community. I wouldn't be in favor of that. So there would be a few things I wouldn't like to see over there.
Thank you. Mr. Futcher, any response?
Thank you.
Any additional response? All right. Question 10, we'll go to Mr. Barto first. Why is Kelso outsourcing jobs? And the question has to do with water bills being sent to Vancouver.
Yeah, that is a great question. I really don't know the answer to that. But why is the city of Kelso and the residents, when they pay their water bill, have to send it to Vancouver to be processed? That's another job I feel that the city we don't have. Why? That'd be a great question for Dave. Why is our water bills being sent to Vancouver and not being processed right here in Kelso?
Well, the council doesn't actually make those operational kind of decisions, but I'll tell you what I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is that we've got a challenge balancing, everything in here is balancing efficiency and cost reduction. I mean, who here hasn't said spend less and don't raise my taxes? Maybe Mr. Von Rock. But outside of that, we're always getting pressure to live within our means. I mean, you've heard people say that, live with what you got, make it work. And if we can be more efficient and save you money, and that sometimes the biggest money we spend is people. So if you say save money, you're saying less people. And this may be one of them. And I don't know for sure why, but I would assume it must not cost more than hiring somebody. So I don't have a great answer for why, but I can bet it's to try and balance your interests as taxpayers.
Well, I really don't like that answer, because why are we talking about economic values and economic, save $1, but now we've lost a job, right? That's a job that's probably here in Kelso. I don't think that anybody would complain about having somebody process their bills, that you pay your water bill here in Kelso, that they should be processed right here. So I don't think anybody wants to send it to Vancouver and pay somebody minimum wage with no benefits to process it, and we're gaining something by that. I don't think that's right.
I just want to add, I believe they're going to a utility in Vancouver for processing it. I doubt that that's a minimum wage position. We didn't just hire it out to some firm to do it for us. It's just a similar type utility, I believe.
All right. And trying to keep track what number that was. So that went to you first, so okay, we're balanced. Question 11 to Mr. Futcher first. How much revenue does the city of Kelso generate with the $20 car tab charge? Does it truly help to offset the cost of street and road repairs?
It doesn't solve the problem. The amount is about $150,000 to $160,000 a year. And, obviously the first year, you're not going to do a whole lot for $150,000. We let it pile up for a couple of years, and we've actually used it. You may have noticed there's a new intersection at Minor Road and Mount Brennan kind of. That was in poor shape, and we used funds from the overlay, for the overlay from the Transportation Benefit District there. It doesn't fix everything. What we were told, again, is we needed to spend $1 million, $1.2 million. We're spending about $4 million. We do this, okay, now we're up to $600,000 maybe, and that's still not enough to solve the problem. But it's the one tool that we were provided to try to solve the problem. It's the only thing that the council could do, because everything else has been legislatively taken away. Our toolbox is less. And if you think about where we were before all the initiatives that restricted what you can do for car tabs, if you remember, you might have been paying $400 some a year for your car tabs, okay? So while the $20 feels like a kick in the teeth, because we've been voting for $30 car tabs, and they've gotten to where they're 75 or 95, depending on what you're driving. Remember that when we used to do the 400 and some, we were getting the roads done a little better. When it goes from 400 to nothing, everybody said, oh, it's going to be the end of the world when that passed. And it wasn't, okay? That passed, and life went on, but it's going to show up somewhere. And in this case, it takes a long time for it to show up, but your street quality is starting to dip. And I think it's incumbent on us to do something to work on that. And this is the only tool that the legislature provided us. So I was glad to go ahead and do that when it said that's still not going to be enough. The study said it's still not going to be enough to solve your problem. That's all I could do.
Thank you. Mr. Barto, same question.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that are upset about paying the $20. I happened to be at the city council meeting when some of my neighbors came down and said they would not mind paying an extra $20 to fix the roads, right? Because you know the roads are in bad shape. Down in South Kelso where I live, you got U Street that will just knock the fillings right out of you, and it's a long stretch street. It's been bad for a long time, right? Anywhere the bus route goes, the city bus system, all those roads are just beat up. Nobody likes the $20 car tabs, and I think that people would like to see this money being spent or allocated, or to say this is what we're going to do next, right? And the other thing is that $20 isn't enough. So is the city council going to think about raising it to $40? I mean, where does it end? I mean, we have to start taking care of our roads, and running around putting cold patch in a pothole don't work.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do have a plan laid out for where this money is going to go. We do have an incredibly detailed outline of where we're going to spend the next few years. The 150 a year, as we mentioned, that it's not going to solve everybody's pothole in everybody's street. So it's an approach we take to try and do it in the areas that need it the most and where people use it the most. Just this session, the legislature gave councils the ability to go to a $40 transportation benefit district if you've had a $20 one for 2 years. So that's an option that the Kelso City Council will probably consider at some point. I have no clue where they're going to go, but until the problem's solved, we've got to keep trying to fix it.
Thank you. Mr. Barto, response? Assume we're good with that?
Yep.
Final question for the evening. This will be directed to Mr. Barto first. What is your vision for the Kelso Airport?
Well, it's under, they're getting ready to make it longer, get bigger planes. I like that idea. It's a regional airport and it's being managed by different groups, so I would like to see it be managed under one group of people, whoever that's going to be. But I think Kelso Airport's an essential tool for our people of Kelso.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize we have an airport sometimes, to be honest. And, but the role it plays, I'm not going to tell you that it's going to fix all our problems, but it's a piece of the transportation infrastructure that actually does make a difference to a lot of companies here in town. Companies like J.H. Kelly can more easily go out and get jobs outside the community and bring money into our community. I mean, that's what economic development is all about, is getting outside money here instead of just regurgitating our own money here. Companies like Bud Clary can go and actually own other dealerships outside of this area because it's easy to get there with their plane. They can bring that money they make on those dealerships back into our community and, again, strengthen our local economy. So I think it helps people do business in that manner, and I think it's valuable. I want to see the runway extension that we've been working on for what seems like for friggin' ever. I want to see it run more efficiently. I think that we've been having a problem with the way that it has been administered to date, and I'm looking forward to meeting with the other airport board members this week and starting to look for a new manager that will be an employee of the agency instead of a contractor, and somebody that we can more directly control and make sure they're doing what we need to do. I'm supportive of it, and I think it can do more for us down the line than what it's done so far.
Thank you. Mr. Barto, response?
No, I agree with that.
All right. So we're good?
Good to go.
We'll move to closing statements. This time, Mr. Barto gets to go first for closing statements, so you have 3 minutes.
I'd really appreciate everybody that's here. I think that we have many challenges and some of them weren't even discussed here tonight. We have an abatement officer that works his butt off, but he is running around trying to take care of the things we have in the city. And I think he needs to be full-time. He can only respond to things that people call and complain. If you don't know what an abatement officer is, it's people that have problems in the city. They don't mow their grass. They got cars, right? Junk cars. They got trash. all over. They don't take care of their neighborhoods, right? He can only run around and respond to complaints. But I think that that's one of the biggest issues that we have. We're talking about economic development, right? So 40% of the people in the city of Kelso are homeowners, the rest are renters. So I think we need to have a great big challenge on how are we going to fix these neighborhoods up. I mean, if you got a house that's rotten, fallen down on your block, does that make your house worth less? People come and look at that, right? And they're like, why would I move to Kelso? Just look at it, right? I mean, we have problem areas all over, either north or south or wherever, over east. I think that that's one big issue we need, and I would really appreciate your vote. That's it.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Futcher?
Well, as I said, it's been my pleasure to do this job for 11 years. I've built a lot of relationships in this time that really helped me do this job more effectively. Politics and life are all about relationships, and I feel that's one thing I can bring to this seat, that my experience gives me an advantage in that respect. I work a lot with the business community in my day job as running a CPA firm, and I think that helps me in knowing what people are looking for in order to come to town and bring us their money. I think that I can provide a face that they can relate to in that capacity, and with my experience, I've learned a lot, and I know that when I came in, I probably thought I knew a lot, and I didn't know anything, and I really tried to educate myself, and I want to keep using that education to accomplish what we're trying to do in Kelso and build the economy for the future. So I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't comment on the efficiency of both candidates in answering questions. And I'm very serious. Before I did debates with Ken for the last 6 or 8 years, I spent about a decade doing them with the Chamber of Commerce and League of Women Voters. So I've had some experience doing that. I don't know as I've ever had 2 candidates get through that many questions in that short a period of time. I really appreciate that. I think our audience has been well informed because of that. I also would like to, as I always do, thank the candidates for putting themselves forward. No matter what side you are on, it really is important to our society that we have people step forward, and both of these people need a hand for that. So one more time, please.